The courtroom was wrapped in a heavy silence, the kind that felt too dense for a child to walk through. Yet 6-year-old Amelia Rivers stepped inside, her small fingers clutching the leash of Ranger, a seasoned Belgian Malinois with a long, faded scar cutting across his ribcage. Every gaze in the room shifted toward her, some sympathetic, some skeptical, all holding their breath. Amelia's steps faltered only once, but she continued forward, tugged onward by both fear and fragile courage. I share news stories here every day, and I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now, let's jump back into my story. I'm sure you'll love it if you keep listening till the end. Judge Harold Grant, a man whose stern expression rarely softened, leaned subtly closer. Amelia was the only witness to a chilling attempted abduction. The accused, Marcus Dorn, sat behind the defense table with the kind of ease that made the courtroom colder. His expression was unreadable, but his confidence was palpable. Since the attack, Amelia hadn't spoken a single word, not to her parents, not to her therapist, not even in her sleep. Trauma had wrapped itself tightly around her voice. And yet this courtroom, filled with reporters and law officials, demanded truth from a child who no longer knew how to give it. As Amelia climbed into the witness chair, her eyes accidentally met Marcus's. Something in her shifted, her shoulders tightened. Her breathing changed, and her tiny hand made a trembling gesture she'd learned during therapy. It was subtle, nearly invisible, but two in the room caught it instantly. Judge Grant and Ranger, the dog's ears snapped forward. A low growl, deep and ancient, rippled through his chest. This was no ordinary reaction, it carried recognition, memory, warning. Judge Grant slammed his gavel. Recess. 15 minutes. Outside the courtroom, Amelia knelt beside Ranger, burying her fists into his fur as though grounding herself to the only safe thing in the world. Ranger pressed his forehead gently against her shoulder, breathing in her fear and guarding it like something sacred. FBI agent Nolan Creed, known for solving cases others abandoned, approached the judge quietly. "That dog knows the man," Nolan said, his voice low. "I've worked with canines my whole career." Ranger isn't reacting to stress. He's reacting to recognition. If he saw the attacker that night, he's telling us. Hours later, Ranger's warning sparked a re-examination of the evidence. Soil samples found in Marcus Dorn's van matched only one place, a remote hunting cabin miles from town. It was enough to form a tactical search team. At dusk, the team approached the isolated cabin. Ranger led, nose low to the earth, steps tense and deliberate. When they reached the wooden door, he froze. The growl that rose from him this time was sharper, urgent. Agent Creed nodded. "Everyone ready? Go." The door burst open. The cabin was empty, or so it seemed, until Ranger stopped suddenly, claws scraping the floorboards. He barked once, twice, then began pawing frantically at a section of wood. Officers pried it open. A narrow staircase descended into darkness. In that hidden basement, shamed and trembling but alive, was a missing 9-year-old girl, Holly Benson, gone for over a month. Her voice cracked when she whispered, "Please, help me." Ranger stayed close as officers freed her, his tail stiff, eyes sharp, as if he understood the fragility of the moment. The discovery shattered the case open like glass, connecting Marcus Dorn not only to Amelia's attack, but to a larger, terrifying pattern. The world watched. The courtroom waited. And the truth was no longer silent. The courtroom was overflowing the next morning. Reporters lined the walls, officials whispered nervously, and the public gallery was packed with people desperate to witness what would happen next. Marcus Dorn sat at the defense table, but the smug calm he once carried had begun to crack around the edges. Amelia entered again, this time holding Ranger's leash tighter, but her steps were firmer. Though she still hadn't spoken, the presence of Holly Benson, now safe and sitting in the front row with a blanket around her shoulders, seemed to breathe strength into the room. Judge Grant cleared his throat. "We will resume testimony." FBI agent Nolan Creed took the stand first. He detailed the soil analysis, the cabin search, the discovery of Holly, and Ranger's role in leading them straight to the basement. Each sentence tightened the noose around Marcus. But the moment that changed everything arrived when Ranger suddenly rose to his feet, muscles bristling, and locked eyes with Marcus. The courtroom froze. Ranger's growl was soft but unmissable, protective, triggered, and pointed with absolute certainty. Everyone felt it. Even Marcus. Amelia, watching her dog, lifted her hand instinctively and gave the same tiny signal from before, the same motion she had made the night of the attempted abduction. Ranger responded instantly, stepping in front of her with a protective stance. Staring Marcus down, Judge Grant leaned forward. "Mr. Dorn, do you wish to respond?" Marcus swallowed. His hands had begun to shake. Then he broke. "I want to change my plea." A wave of gasps swept through the room. The prosecutor's jaw dropped. Even Agent Creed's eyes widened in disbelief. Marcus's voice cracked as guilt poured out details, timelines, confessions. Every sentence sealed his fate. Judge Grant delivered the final verdict: life in prison. No parole. The courtroom erupted not with cheers, but with relief. A long-held breath finally released. Weeks later, Amelia sat in her living room between her parents. The house was quiet, warm, safe, everything her world hadn't felt like for so long. Ranger lay beside her, head on her lap, eyes closed but ears alert. Her mother gently brushed her hair. "Sweetheart, you're safe now. You don't have to talk until you're ready." Amelia looked at Ranger, at his scar, at the dog who had protected her when her voice disappeared, and somehow spoke for her when she couldn't. Her tiny hand cupped Ranger's face. "Thank you," she whispered. Her parents froze. Tears slipped down her father's cheeks. Ranger lifted his head slowly, tail thumping the couch cushion as though the sound itself was a celebration. It wasn't just a word. It was a return, a healing, a beginning. From that day forward, Amelia never slept alone. Ranger curled beside her each night, a guardian with 4 legs and a heart braver than any warrior's. The town called him a hero. The FBI called him extraordinary. But to Amelia, he was simply home. Some bonds don't need words. Some heroes don't need medals. And sometimes the bravest soul in the room walks quietly on pause.